Hey, we're going to be talking about moving and renaming files today in Windows. If you wouldn't mind turning to page Windows 38 in the textbook, we're going to be talking about this. During the last video, we actually discussed copying files, which means that we keep a file in its original location and we move it to a new location on there as well. So we have two copies of it on there. Today we're actually going to be talking about moving and renaming those files. So you can move a file, a group of files, or a folder to another location, such as a different folder on the same drive or to a different drive. When you move a file, the original file where it's stored at is going to be moved to a different location. One of the fastest ways to do this is with the drag and drop method, which we'll be taking a look here momentarily, which uses your mouse to drag a file or folder to a new location. You may also need to rename a file, giving it a name that more clearly describes the file's contents and how you intend to use this file. So we're going to go back to our My Documents on there. This is a little bit different than the steps in the textbook on there, so we're going to change up step one just a little bit. But if we go here to the Start button, and then we're going to go to the My Documents or the Documents. This is where you should have saved the to-do list on there. And so we're going to be taking a look at this. Of course, step 2 tells us that we can change our view to large icons. If that's an optional thing, if you want to do that, you can take a look and just see that it does have some little minor differences. But we're going to use the large icons just to make it just a little bit easier to see on there. Then next, what we're going to do is we're actually going to add a new folder onto our My Documents. So I'm just going to go to a blank area here, or in between some of these files. It's just something where it's not selected. I'm just going to go to a blank area here, and I'm going to right-click my mouse. And this brings up the shortcut menu, and I'm going to go here to New, and it has a little arrow next to it. And this is actually going to allow me to make a new folder, and that's ultimately what we're going to do. So I'm going to go up here and just click on Folder. You'll notice that here it pops up right up here. You can see where my mouse is moving, and by default it gives it the name New Folder. Of course, you notice that the folder name is highlighted, so you can type a more descriptive folder name. So here what we're going to do is that instead of having it as New Folder, we're going to rename this French Polynesia. So if we just go ahead and just start typing, notice that it goes ahead and just change the title or the name of the folder. So this is French Polynesia Tour on there. Once you have your name typed in, go ahead and press enter, and that's going to accept the name of that on there. Of course, then step 5 tells us is that we want to go ahead and point to our to-do list. So here I have the to-do list. And if I point to this, and I'm going to click on it just to select it, and then I'll click and hold my left mouse button. And what this is going to do is this is going to allow me to drag this. And notice as I drag it here, a little shadow of this is moving along. And of course, over the folders, notice that what it's doing, it's kind of moving it around, highlighting the folder. I'm going to put this right over top of the French Polynesia Tour. And if you'll notice the little screen tip that has on there, it says Move to French Polynesia Tour. And that's what we're going to do. We're moving this file to this folder. So once we have that, we're just going to go ahead and release our mouse button once we have that there, and there the file has been moved on there. And now you notice that the to-do list is no longer where it was at. If I double click on this folder, the to-do list is now in there. So that has moved this file from the My Documents, which originally was at, now into the folder that's in My Documents called French Polynesia Tour on there as well. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to give this a different name, because it's a to-do list, but what if we have multiple to-do lists? I'm not sure what we're going to do on this to-do list. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to rename this. One of the easiest ways to do that is to right-click, and notice that once we right-click, the shortcut menu appears, and notice that here's a rename. We're going to click on that, and very similar to when we added the new folder, this has it already highlighted for us, and we can just change the name of this. So if we change the name to, as it says in step 9, Tour Preparation, then that way we know that this is our tour preparation file. I press enter, it accepts the changes on there, and now we have moved and renamed the file on there as well. So what we're going to do is that since we have that on there, we're just going to go ahead and close this down. Now, something that typically that does happen at some point in time is that you forget where you saved a file at on there. I know I have before, and it's like, well, what do I do? Where do I go find this file at? Well, Windows actually gives you an area to search for files on there, and instant search is what we're going to be looking at. It helps you to quickly find a folder or file on your computer. Now, there is search criteria, which is one or more pieces of information that will help Windows to identify the file that you want. You can search using all or part of the file name, a unique word in the file, or the file type such as a document, picture, or music. Instant search finds items only in your user account. So if there's multiple users on your computer, it's only going to look on yours on there. Now there is some things called Bulleen Filters on there, and this is great in addition for web pages. And this is on page Windows 40. If you take a look at table B5, notice that there are the different Bulleen filters. There's the and, or, not, and quotation marks. And those things are very handy on there. If we use the and Bulleen filter, in which if we would have, like on the example there, tour and proposal, then it's going to find all the words that contain tour and the words that proposal as well. Those two words may or may not be located next to each other. If it's the or, it's going to find one word or the other, or both of them. If not, it's going to find one word, but not the other word. And then finally, if it's in quotation marks, it's going to look for an exact phrase on there. So let's go and let's take a look at this instant search on here. So once again, on page Windows 40, if you wouldn't mind to follow along with this after the video's over, you'll see this on here. Try this out for yourself. So if I click on the Start button, and in Windows 7, there is a little search box down here, and I'll show you how to use that. Otherwise, in Windows XP, over here on the side, near the control panel, devices and printers, there is usually a search. And you can click on that and it does the same thing as this. So if I type in the word to, notice that it's searching, and now it's trying to find everything on there that has to in it. However, some of the things, you know, there's a lot of different things. Look at that. There's 4,565 documents on there. In Microsoft Office Outlook, there's 20,809 on there. So there's a lot of different things that we can, you know, that you can take a look at. So the more specific you are, the better off it is. So to, notice, gives us truckloads of results. But if I put in a hyphen, which is next to the 0, and then type in do, list. Now notice that my search results have been narrowing down all the time, and now I have 127 files compared to 4,000 that we had before. And instead of on there 20,000 Microsoft Outlook items on there, I only have 198. So the more specific that you are, the better off that you are on there. So if we notice that right here, there's my to-do list on there, and that's what I want to click on. So if I click on that, that's going to open this up in Microsoft Word, and there's my to-do list. Now notice that even though it said to-do list, remember that we changed the name of it not that long ago. And look up here, tour preparation. That's opened it up. So what it did was it looked in the file and saw to-do list was the first thing, and that's where it gave me that option. So once I have that, I know where my file is at on there. The last thing that we're going to do is, and turn over now to page Windows 42, and we're going to be looking at deleting and restoring files. If you no longer need a folder or a file, typically it's best to go ahead and delete it or remove it. If you delete a folder, Windows actually will remove the folder as well as everything stored in it, so be a little bit careful when you're deleting folders. Windows actually has a place for files and folders that you deleted, and it's called the recycle bin. And you'll notice that sometimes the recycle bin is full, which as we see right here, there's things in the recycle bin. If I empty this out, and it asks me if I want to delete these items, yes, on there, notice that it's deleting, and now the recycle bin is empty. So we're going to start off with an empty recycle bin. on there. So if I go back, and let's go find our, go back to our My Documents, and go back into the French Polynesian Tour folder. And what we're going to do is that we are actually just going to click on this, and you can right click, or the simplest way I can tell you is just hit your delete key once that is selected. And notice it says, are you sure you want to move this file to the recycle bin? Yes, I do. Now that folder, or that file, has just been deleted on there. Now sometimes we delete things by accident on there, and that does happen at times. So to get this file back, now generally, Windows understands that you may make some mistakes, and that's why they have the recycle bin. And notice the recycle bin now has something in it. So if I open up this recycle bin, I point to it and double click on it, it opens up, and what's inside? My tour preparation file. And that's what we need to have on there. And notice that we can, from here, you might be saying, oh my goodness, okay, it's there, thank goodness. But now what do I do? Well, I can actually restore this. If I click on it, up at the top here, notice it says restore this item. If I right click it on the file as well, the shortcut also shows me a restore. If I click on restore this item, notice what happens. You might be saying, oh my goodness, the recycle bin, it's gone. Where's it at now? Well, if I would go ahead and go back to my folder on there in the My Documents, the French Polynesia Tour folder, look at there, my file has returned on there. Windows keeps track of the original location of these deleted files and folders, so that when you restore them, it goes back to the original location on there. Now, let's say for an example that I did not need this file whatsoever. And that is when, if I would go through this file and take a look here, I open this up. Yes, I've done this. I've done all my items here. I don't need this. I can click on delete and say yes, send it to the recycle bin. And I'll close down my documents, and notice there's my recycle bin. If I open this file back up, there it is. Notice that there's a button here that says empty the recycle bin, or if I right click on it, there's a delete. If I do that, my file is no longer going to be where I can save it back on there. So if I go through there and if I empty out the recycle bin, notice that it asks me, do I want to permanently delete this file? In your case, we're going to go ahead and say no on there. So you do not want to permanently delete the file. However, in my case, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, I do want to delete it. And notice it's gone from the recycle bin. Unlike last time, when I went back into the My Documents and French Polynesian Tour, it's not there anymore. The file has been completely erased from my computer, and at this point in time, the average user cannot get that file back. So be careful when emptying out your recycle bin on there. Well, that ends up the Windows Vista Unit B chapter, talking about file maintenance and everything on there. One of the tasks that you really should do is to get into your My Documents or onto your home directories and go ahead and start making files or folders and everything, getting ready to save some of your files in, because in this class especially, you're going to need to be saving a lot of files as we go through, especially when we enter into the Word area. And it's helpful to keep those files saved in a location. So all this, these previous videos have all been about maintaining your files, moving your files, and everything else. And this is going to give you a chance to organize yourself so that when it comes time to upload the file to course sites or something else, you can be able to do that. If you have any questions, just ask Mr. Irwin. Just go back through the textbook over the pages that we've just covered and everything, and just complete those tasks. Remember, don't print. I will have an area on course sites for you to upload your file on there. So if you have any questions, ask Mr. Irwin, and we will see you during the next video.